Oh, right. Oh, we got it. Oh, look, it's in frame. Good for me. Yay. Woo. Winning. We're winning, everyone here. Um, maybe. I don't know. Should I turn it the other way, everyone? Let me think. We turn it this way. There we go. We can still see it, right? It makes it a little bit more user friendly. There we go. It's in the frame. Right, right, right. Tell me if it's not in the frame. Yes, right on time, Allison. Hello. Hello, French Irish girl. Welcome. Okay, better this way. Thank you, Simply Carrie. Appreciate that. Hello, Willie B. Hello, hello. I am trying to at least get my lunch and learns each day. So I may not be able to make it to, oh, thank you so much. Simply, I appreciate you so much. I am trying to make sure I at least get one live in a day. And it seems like this kind of mid-morning, noon lunch and learn is working the best for me. So hello, just moi. Say your name wrong. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm glad I'm home too. Oh my gosh. Some of the larger phones cut the frames on the edges. I can't see the entire chart. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because it's weird because I've got two different screens here. And in one screen, it's not cut, but in the other screen, it is. How's that? Maybe that's a bit better. Do. Hello, Anita. Hello. Is it good? Hello, Alex. Yes, FYP, everybody. I tell you, I don't know what's going on with this. Renegade. Okay, great. Oh, your stories are on. Yay! When last we met. Oh, my goodness gracious. Just a little, you see it all. Okay, great. Name that. Oh, great. Love to hear it. Sophia, hello. Perfect on a bigger screen now. Okay, Abulira, thank you. So, welcome in, everyone. I'm going to wait just a couple minutes. And also, if you could help me just a little bit, could you send out the live, however you're supposed to do that? And I've been talking with Kaya, and she said a lot of people aren't getting their notifications for my live. So, I don't know exactly how all of that works. I'm sorry, but, if you could, tell somebody. Oh, yeah, share the live. That's what I meant. Oh, my gosh, I'm not good at this stuff, everyone. But I do appreciate it. A lot of people have been bummed out that they've missed. You got the notification? Okay, great. We're winning. We are winning then. Hello, Miss Tierra. Hello. I'm glad you got it. Wonderful. All right, so I have a couple things today, everyone, that I am very excited about. You set up the bat signal. Yay, Willie B, yay. Oh, it's been pouring all day. Oh, I know it. Well, we were in rain for the last few days, rain and snow. So I can't say I don't. I'm not happy that it's sunny because I am happy. Hello, Just Tracy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really rely on. I have the best chat ever, and I rely on all of you so much to kind of help me out with these other things I'm supposed to be doing. I guess I don't know. Now, Pearl is in here with me, and she's stuffed up. So you might hear some cat sneezing, but that's all right. We'll make it through. Yes, I like the rain too. I really do. All right. Notification more likely to see. I agree, Allison. I agree. I just do not have the capacity to do that yet. I'm hoping I do eventually, but as of the moment, I don't. There's lots of people that can do it. And I was talking to Legal Dad, and he's like, hey, we should do one on YouTube. I was like, yeah, let's do that. But I don't know how to do that, so I'm going to want to. Need to figure it out. Well, welcome in. And we even have a little room down here for our sticky notes. Although, I don't know if we need it, because, this is what we're doing. Maybe we don't need it at this point yet. We shall see. But I thought... We've got, oh my gosh, where are we at? 520 lawsuits 520 lawsuits, everybody, that have been filed. Now, I'm not saying 520 are going forward or, every single one's going to trial. I'm just looking at cases that have been filed. So a few have been dismissed voluntarily. A few have been, I'm looking here over at my board. It looks like almost all of them have made some kind of a deal, and so they dismissed them. So we do have several of those, so to keep that in mind out of this number here. And then we have a whole bunch that are stayed. So we've got copies of the same kind of case, multiple copies, especially with the Alien Enemy Act. That was a tough one for me, everybody. Anyway, there's a lot of those cases that are stayed still. Some federal employee cases are also stayed, which just means they're paused until they go through the appellate process. The big one, though, of course, is what's happening with the SNAP situation. Now, we were kind of in this wait and see situation because we didn't know what was going to happen in Congress. And quite frankly, we still don't know what's happening in Congress. So because that's not come to a finish line, we're still, rushing here. We're still trying to get, rushing, not, previous, not that Russian, but rushing, not there's anything wrong with that Russian. We are still needing to get our snaps out there. So, does not like the loud true story. Good afternoon. So yeah, we're still working on it. So this is the perfect time, I think, to really go through how this whole life of an appeal in a federal circuit works. We've got so many appeals. Mr. Orange is like, in my opinion, truly, in my opinion, he's had so many lawsuits that he knows how it works. He doesn't have to be a lawyer to know you can appeal it like 100 times, and he's fully aware of that. But just to give you a quick overview, we are split into 13 circuits. And the reason why is because of a judicial act that was passed through Congress. And I think the latest version was maybe 1944, 1945, I think. They restructured the courts then. The Supreme Court was set back in the 1800s, but I believe it was the 40s, around the wartime, that we dinked with it the last time. And we haven't dinked since then. So say, you're not Russian. I know, Navy vet. I know. Yeah, no. We need 13 Supreme Court justices. So it's a good point. And again, if we're looking at how this has been divided up over the years, not very much has changed. And even when the change was made in the 40s, it had to do with circuit courts and, how many seats and how many and stuff. But this is it. I mean, look at this. We've got 13 here. We've got one over here, which has Maine. That's the biggest state, but Massachusetts is the one that files a lot. Over here, and New Hampshire, I can't forget you. And then we've got 2 for New York. 3 is Pennsylvania. I'm trying to pick the biggest states here. 4, North Carolina, Virginia here. 11 is Florida. See, we went over and then we came back again. So we've got 11 here. Here's 5 over here with Texas. 6, I don't know, Kentucky or Ohio. Those both are about the same size. And then the 7th in Michigan. I forgot Michigan's up there. Now, this is Michigan and then this Michigan, everybody. I got to make sure we split Michigan up properly. And then 7 here, we've got Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana. Then we have the 8th Circuit where we've got all of these big square states. And then 10 also has a lot of our big square states as well, kind of in the middle of the country here. And then 9, which covers all of these states here. Now, Montana may only have 5 people there, and Idaho may only have 10 people there. But there's a heck of a lot of people in California. And so if you're just putting one, California needs to be, kind of broken up a little bit. Because if you look over here for New York, it's just New York, Vermont, here in Connecticut, I guess, right? And then over here it's like California and then all these other states. We're in trouble. I would say we're definitely, hello, Big Grandma. I would say we're definitely in trouble when it comes to how many cases the Supreme Court can hear, and making sure everybody gets their opportunity to be in the process of, calling people out on stuff, because that's like what we do here. So, oh yes, Big Ram, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back. Thank you very much. Life's a journey, right? All right, so 13 again, all the way 1 through 11, and then the DC circuit is just called the DC circuit. And then the federal circuit is where we have our specialty, let me see, where did I put the sticky note? The specialty court. So let me just grab a sticky note real quick. Okay, so an example then of the federal circuit court would be our tariffs case. So this is just one of the tariff cases that we have. We're still moving through the process. We don't have a finished answer yet. But this is in the U.S. Court of International Trade. That is under this federal circuit. So, because they're both pointing, well, all three pointing to D.C. So we have D.C. circuit itself. So it's like any of these others, but then our specialty circuits and the Supreme Court sitting there. All right, just to kind of clarify that. I always struggled. I always thought for some reason there was 12, and then I was like, that's not right. So you just have to remember. Now, Congress is in charge of setting out any of our specialty courts under Article 3. So they're the ones that are supposed to be making it so that the courts run relatively smoother. Oh, that's Navy vet, my goodness, we just need to figure out a solution. So we do have 9 justices. Yes, I would recommend more. I believe we do need more justices. And I think especially after seeing how this Supreme Court is working, and I know we're all frustrated, but if there's ever a time to see how we're limited by only having 9 justices, it's now. We are absolutely seeing that. So Congress could get together someday and eventually, mail, could eventually add more judges. So that would be great, right? Because that's Congress's job. So that's our quick overview there. And then let's talk about the appeals process. All right, let me make sure I'm in frame here. I got a couple different cameras and I've got an iPad going, so at least 12. Right. I mean, we're having a hard time keeping up with it. The justices are as well. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of cases. 1 for each circuit is ideal for sure. I agree. But I think too, we've got room to break circuits. That 9th circuit over here, in my opinion, like we got look at that, all these here, but then you come over here. And I know that, the Montana's not busting with people, but Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, that stuff, they're busy in there. So it'd be nice if we could kind of split that a little bit. All right. And I know sometimes I get short of breath, everyone, but don't worry about it. I just don't have my little machine on next to me, but I'm just fine. I apologize if it annoys you, though. So here we go. Let's jump into the life of an appeal in federal court. Now, we've talked about this before. We're going back to the basics here, everybody. Back to the basics. So the first court that you're in is going to be a district court. And it doesn't matter if you're state or federal, all right? Your district court. This is where you have your fact-finding is here. And your juries are here. And so they are the ones out in the trenches watching, going through the evidence, listening to the witnesses, full trial. All right. And then the second step is going to be an appeal court. Now, in some states, it may be called an associate district court or something like that. There's lots of different names. Court of Appeals may be called that. But when we're in federal court, we've got the federal circuit going here, and then we have our appeals. So we have our appeals in federal court here, and we call them circuits, right? Because that makes it easy. And then, of course, then the last step is going to be your highest court. So Most states call it the Supreme Court if it's a state court, although it could be superior or something like that. I think New York's like trial courts are actually called Supreme Courts. So New York's like old school and they do not like change. So all of their all of their district courts are referred to as Supreme Courts. And then they have like, first they have some numbers and then they have another one. But what's important here is that the highest court in your jurisdiction then is the third. So you get 3 bites, right? You get the trial, you get your appeal, and then you get one more appeal to the highest court in your jurisdiction. First department. Okay, thanks, BC. Yeah, I had some numbers in it. So what we're talking about and what has been so weird about this administration, one of many things, has been usually the process is you file a petition. Let me see, I might have a sticky note on this. Do I? No. All right, I need to do one. So you file a petition, then you have a response, then you have a reply, and then you have pretrial motions. So this is pretrial motions. Then you have a trial, and then you have post-trial motions, all right? That's a typical lawsuit here. That's typical. What we're going through is not typical. What is happening in these federal cases, and I just cannot emphasize this enough, is that this is not the usual, what we're going through. We have petitions, right, being filed against the administration for federal law violations multiple times, of course. We're up to like, what did I say, 5:30? Anyway, petition gets filed, and with the petition, because it's an action, they're asking for a preliminary injunction, or in some cases, if they need help quicker, a temporary restraining order. All right, so temporary restraining orders like that emergency is on fire situation, and a preliminary injunction's like, well, let's cover you for a couple weeks and get to the bottom of this in court, and then we'll go forward. So many times the preliminary injunction gets pulled once you start getting into court or getting closer to court because it's not needed. But in this situation, with these cases, what's happening is every step of the way it's being appealed. So the petition comes in, they ask for a TRO, they ask for a preliminary injunction, it gets granted, it gets appealed. And so if it gets appealed, if they want to challenge it, then they'll take it to the Supreme Court. So they will even try to take this preliminary injunction that's only supposed to last for 2 weeks. They will appeal it not just to the appellate courts, but then they'll get upset and they'll appeal it to the Supreme Court, which is what happened in the birthright citizenship case. We didn't have merits. We didn't have a ruling on the merits. We just had a ruling on TROs and PIs nationwide. So that went up to the Supreme Court and then came back down. Again, notice where we are in the legal process here. We're at step 1. We're still at step 1 when we're going all the way up to the Supreme Court and then all the way back down again, right? So these cases are taking a really long time because of that. Oh, yes. Oh, the visual, right. So what I've noticed with these cases, again, we have a petition, it goes up, it comes back down, and then this is either allowed or not allowed, which means if the order is allowed, then the government has to pause. They can't go forward on their nefarious plans. But if it's not allowed, it means they can go forward on their nefarious plans because they've put them through the winter test and they think they might win. It's not a win. They think they might win. And then that can be pulled and they can go forward with their nefarious activities then with that. All right, so we're kind of split half and half. Half of the cases seem to have a protective order that's good to go for a little while. Others have been denied that protective order or the temporary restraining order. So they're like, no, you can't do that. They're going to be shipping people out. So hurry up and get your court stuff done, right? We'll file an appeal of the judge. Well, what exactly? Exactly how they can abuse the system. Yes. And also, it's all about intent, right? We talk about that a lot. It's all about the act, the intent, and that equals the crime. And here we're looking at the intent. If every single one of these 530 cases had legitimate constitutional issues with having an injunction or a TRO. If they all had issues with that, of course, you're going to appeal them. But if you look, some of the simplest cases, it's so clear that they didn't even make it very, very far before they appealed it. So on the dockets, it'll be like maybe 3 or 4 listings. And then as soon as that preliminary injunction's in, it's boomed. It's done. It's up in appeals. So that's why they're like, oh, we're winning. We're winning. We're like, you're not winning because none of your cases are over. You win when the case is over. All right. So that, again, is just a little backstory on the appellate process. So right now, most of the cases are caught up in this appellate process, either for the temporary restraining order or the preliminary injunction. So the next thing, as they're fighting through this, is that the defendants have to send in a response. All right. And I say it's a response, but it's also called a denial, right? And they will basically answer the questions in the petition. So the petition says they did this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it was wrong. So the respondents would say, we did not do 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5, and we won out. That's what the denial is. And then the petitioners come back in and say, yes, you did. You most certainly did do 1 through 5. In this period of time, another unique feature to what we're going through right now is that this is the time when we're starting to do discovery, right? So discovery is this process of getting information from the other side. So interrogatories, depositions, production of documents, which it seems like every single case they're fighting it because they don't like to give any information away or follow the Constitution, but whatever. So discovery is being questioned. So that's another appeal that we can go down. And then also what's happening is the defendants are filing a motion to dismiss. A motion to dismiss here, and they may do that before they do the response. And then they're like, well, we don't want to do the response yet. We're going to get a dismissal first. So this has to get briefed and then have a full hearing on it. And then the plaintiffs are doing what's called a motion for summary judgment, which means they're saying to the court, you have everything you possibly need to make a decision. So let's just get a decision here. That, again, is still getting tangled up here because we barely have anything being actually pled through the system yet. All right, so we got motion to dismiss, motion for summary judgment. I know this is like the height of professional drawing here, everyone, but it gets the job done, okay? That's what's been going on there. And then we've got, of course, our pretrial motions, which also includes some of our discovery, trial post motions. All right, so now you know how we get to the appeal. So let's go through the appeal process here. Let me make sure I'm lined up again. It should be all right. So let's break this down. This isn't my chart, and actually, I'm not sure. I probably should have. This is very unusual for me, but I did not write down the site for this chart. So sorry about that, but I'm just double checking here. I'm not sure exactly where this chart came from, but it's correct. Right, it's the whole wall. I know. The people in my house, like, we have people come over and have dinner with us, and they're like, can we sit in the closet? Like, fine. So you come in here, like, here, let's talk about it. And then an hour later, they're like, can we please leave? Is that okay? Like, yes, you can. It's a good chart, and it's accurate. So here we go. Number 1, preliminary matters here. And then number 2, formal briefing schedule here. Next, motions get filed. Then calendaring, and this is the court's calendaring. And then number 5 is oral argument. Right, so these are our categories as our cases move through the appellate process. And then even after oral argument, you can ask for a rehearing. So you can say, hey, that wasn't great. We want a rehearing. And then you come down here into this mandate box to see what exactly can be sorted out at that point. So the mandate piece is basically making sure that the order's implemented. Oh, thanks, VC. Oh, good. That's a good resource. Hey, look at me pulling from the Court of Appeals. Oh my gosh. All right, now I'm in a little different spot today too, so I might be a little bit wiggly here on the table. I apologize. I'm still kind of working out the kinks here. All right, here we go. Oh, great, Navy vet. Oh, good. I feel better about myself now. Here we go. Preliminary matters. Let's just take a look at them here. The first piece is a notice of appeal from the lower court, right? You'll see that in all of the dockets. So whatever case you pull up, if there is an appeal filed, that's where you'll find the appeal number too. So you've got the district number, and then if it goes up to another court, it gets another number. So if you're only following one number, you will miss the appeals. So here we go. The appeal then is docketed in the federal circuit. So wherever in the U.S. you are, then it gets docketed here. This one is entry of appearance and certificate of interest. So this is where the attorneys file and say, we're representing whomever. All right. So the attorneys file with the court and the court acknowledges them, and they have to do that in order to be able to get included in the case. It's just not automatic. You don't just show up and you're like, hey, I'm here to do some stuff. No, that's not how that works. One attorney, you know I'm thinking about which attorney. You can't just show up. You got to file stuff. And then you also have people with certificates of interest. So this has been, sometimes it's been, additional entities. A lot of time what we're seeing are like cities for these lawsuits. So you might have a state that's suing, but then a particular interest for the city, or you may have some other kind of group in here. Like we've got unions here and then states here. So if you've got a special interest, again, a unique interest in the case, you can ask to be included. That doesn't mean that your case is going to be now completely done by that interest. It just means, I know you can't just show up. I know, weird, right? But it just means that you're a part of it and you'll be able to see all the documents. That's like my happy place, so you can get all your documents. All right, next up, again, this is preliminary matters right here. This one, we've got a transcript order. You've got to fill out the form properly. It's amazing. Some people really do not. I'd say there's probably, I don't know, maybe 15 cases, maybe a little bit less, where this part, when they're filing to get the transcripts, they've done it wrong because, most people don't work in federal court like this, so they've had to refile. And this is due 14 days from the date of docketing. That's the other thing that I appreciate about this chart is that it gives us the dates. The rules of civil procedure are what tell us how long you have to file this, and this, right? So let's say we're in criminal court and you are going to try self-defense. So that's an affirmative defense. And that means it has to be pled, depending on your jurisdiction, it has to be pled like 10 days before the trial starts or something like that. So you can't do it the day that trial's starting, although people do try, and that drives me crazy. But anyway, I digress. The point is, you have a certain number of days, and those are all set out in the federal rules of civil procedure. But they put them here on the chart, so we have some idea of what we're talking about. So we've got 2 weeks after it's been docketed here. So the transcripts get ordered, and then they go to the certified list, gets received, and this is due 40 days from the date of the docketing in agency cases here. All right, so we've got to have everything set out within 40 days. And then here we have a docketing statement, and this is for counsel cases only, and that's filed within 14 to 30 days, depending on what kind of a case it is here. So docketing statement, again, is just something to fill out basic information into the docket to kind of keep your docket clean, because it's hard to do, especially in Florida. For those of you with me during that orange espionage case in Florida, remember going through that docket and being like, what is she even doing? That's when you can tell a judge is a bit green, as when their docket's like really messed up and sloppy. All right, so keep it clean, people. Keep it organized. And then at the end, we have review of docketing statements by mediation office. I'm not sure how frequently this is being used right now or what the protocol is for that. But, you know, again, it's on the chart. It may be, are those wicked nails? No. Well, they might. No, they're not. They're not, but they're fun. I'm just not sure how their protocol works there in the federal court with this particular piece. So, boom, preliminary matters. So you've got it docketed, you've appealed, you've got your 2 weeks, your attorneys are put in, you've got your transcript order, your certified list is done and put onto the docket. Docketing statement is done to keep everything nice and tidy. And then, you know, mediation, I guess. I don't want to poo-poo mediation because that's important, but I just honestly don't know that much about it at the federal level here. Oh, thank you. Next, formal briefing schedule. So briefs have to be filed. Now we have the petition, we have the answer or the response. Those are your motions, all right? Those are motions because there's movement in the court. The briefs are setting out the issues in the case, and they're giving a brief summary of what their arguments are. All right, see how I'm trying to use the B word? Both sides file briefs. Now, the appellant's brief, oh, this is going to mess me up. This messes me up all the time. All the time because they're in, because it's blue. Now, when in my area, we're switched. Our colors are switched. You have a blue and you have a red. One's for the appellant, that's the moving party, and the appellee, that's the responding party. So here, it's blue, and this is very important. It's literally a blue page on the front of your brief. That's literally what it is. You've got 60 days to file that, and then once the petitioner, again, the appellant, files their brief in blue, we've got a couple roads that can go down. First, we can have the appellee filing their brief within 40 days. And it's also saying 6 copies, which I think is really great too, because even though pretty much everything is digital, we're still kind of old school a little bit in the federal courts, which I think is fine. So you got to make sure that you send out the copies. I've noticed one thing too, is that this is another thing that's getting screwed up with this administration. And I can't remember exactly what case it was, but one of the cases they just filed and said, we need a courtesy copy from the state, please. Thank you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's funny. Lawyer humor, everyone. So here's the answer, right? Here's the answer or the response. If you want to go down another road over here, this means that there is a cross brief. So you've got your primary issue and your answer. And then now you're like, well, wait a minute. I've got another question here. I've got another issue going on. So sometimes then the appellee will cross sue the appellant. And, you know, then now we've got these 2 different split roads. And it can get really... Okay, it can get ridiculous. Because if you split here, like this guy's like, oh, I got another issue, whatever. And so we're split. Then you also have to go and get briefs from that. So even if you're splitting, if you've got cross, appeals, you're going to be briefing those as well. 2 briefs and then the answer, and it goes forward and stuff. So it's like 2 mini trials now if you get into the realm of cross pleading, which is a lot of what the government's been doing recently. Oh, yes, thank you for all the gifts. Oh, my gosh. I tell you what, everybody. Whoo, I've already gone through 1 ream of paper. I just got it. And I was like, all right. And I just couldn't help it. There's so much going on. All right. So this gets crazy here with the cross appeals. So we'll just note that it's there, but keep moving down the regular road because we don't need too much more insanity here. All right. So we've got a cross appellant's brief. This is where it gets weird too, right? Because the appellee's in red here, but they would cross switch into being the appellant if they are suing the appellant again, right? So you can see how it gets jumbled up. Then we've got the appellant's reply up here and the appellant's reply here. Again, 3 weeks is typical here. And then if we're going down the regular road, we'll have a joint appendix. Now, this is my personal favorite part here. No, yes, I did. And it wasn't, and it wasn't even the e-files too. I was reading through those. I was like, man, I didn't even print those out. So I'm not sure. I've been doing some research on the War Powers Act. So I think that set me by. All right. Thank you, Bay Grandma. Yes, I am feeling better, Boxer Mom. Thank you for asking. I am. All right, where were we? Here we go. Right, 21 days for a reply, and then a joint appendix, which is my favorite. That's where they're going to start setting up what they're going to be using in their case, right? So, of course, you're going to have different, I guess the easiest way to explain it is you're getting everything ready, and then you need to make a list of where everything is. All right, that's your joint appendix. And we're not really hiding stuff. That's one thing that a lot of people, I think, mistake in the legal field from watching too much TV. Like, we're not here to like hide the ball or like be tricky. Both sides, if they're acting in good faith, and we'll just hope for the best that that's happening. We're not trying to hide stuff from each other. We're trying to get to what the law is and what it needs to be and make sure everything's done properly. So everybody should be seeing everybody else's stuff here. It doesn't always have to be, because sometimes it's not relevant until witnesses start testifying. And then maybe you've got some credibility issues, and so you've got a few more exhibits to bring in. But in general, you should pretty much know what the other side has. And we're not going to be like, woohoo, all right, look at this one, like Perry Mason style. That just wastes time, quite frankly. And another real side note, funny thing I've noticed is new attorneys that haven't really been in trial very often or very much, they come in with kind of like that Perry Mason vibe about them. Like, let's say they've only had a couple of trials, or they've only been, out for a year, and they'll come in and they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow, man, you can turn that down. You're at a 10, I need you at a 3. Absolutely. The more organized, the better, for sure. Right. Okay, so here we are over here. We've got possible joint request for mediation. Again, I would say I can't skip this part, because I do know of at least 2 cases that have been walking through the mediation road that I personally know of. So we do kind of have that mediation working, but not very much for these cases. And then we've got notice of paper copies that are due, because of course you have to have paper copies. Of course you do. All right, that's number 2. So here's the briefing schedule. Number 3, the motions filed. A lot of people ask me about motions. All of the motions that we use are in the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure or your state's Rules of Civil Procedure. They're not going to give you the exact language for how to do a full motion. They will give you, the skeleton. They'll give you the outline of what you need to have in there, and then it's up to you to go forward and fill in the rest of the motion. Again, a motion is when you're asking the court to do something. You're asking the court to, find somebody at fault, or, skip something or add something. So we've got motions here, pending motions. This would be like pre-trial is how I kind of look at it. These are some of the first motions that you'll see, extension of time, and I think that has been filed in all of these cases, in all honesty, especially for these responses. For the government's responses, they are saying we need more time, and we want to do a motion to dismiss. So they're asking for a lot of extra time, and I'm not going to say it's only the government, because petitioners are too, but the largest group of people asking for that extension of time so far has been the administration. And it makes sense, right? Because they're on a skeleton crew at the DOJ. It's like the same person doing 250 cases, right? That's a lot. Hello, Carrie. All right, then reform caption. I'm not sure. This is a clerical thing. If you need to change your cap, that's happened to me before, actually, and I've had to go in and change it, because yay, electronic filing. But if you make a mistake and it gets docketed, you got to come back and then, clean it up with more motions. So we've got reform caption here. Then we have dismissal, which is kind of what I was talking about here, where the defendant can file a motion to dismiss the case. Then we have remand can be requested, an injunction to stay an injunction in the lower court, right, which is happening in a lot of cases, or to stay the appeal. So hold on, don't go forward on the appeal. Motion for summary judgment is also in here, which we talked about a little bit again. And then I would say motion for summary judgment is what the moving party or the appellant is going to put in there, right? They're going to say our case is so strong you don't even need to see the witnesses, and you'll know that we're right. And that you have to have a real strong case in order for that to go forward. But it's another piece of judicial economy, right? Like if they don't need to have the full dog and pony show, just need the paperwork, and it's so clear that there's been a violation that the petitioners are like, you don't need to see anything else, we're confident. Boom, then your case gets moved forward and you're done. I think we've had so far, I'm looking at my list over here, everybody, I've got, okay. Oh yeah, so we did have a motion for summary judgment. Okay, probably the big, wait, I'm coming back. You probably can't hear me. Just a second. Just a second. All right, so I think we've got, it looks like 3 motions for summary judgments have been granted already. And one is the tariff case, of course, which is being appealed. One is one of the law firms, which is being appealed. And then, the Federal Labor Relations Board situation. The point is, as I digress, the point is that at this point, if they rule on that motion for summary judgment, your case is over. All right. Now, if you lose that motion for summary judgment as the plaintiff, you can appeal. Some people may remember summary judgment for Mr. Orange's giant New York case, right? Where Miss Letitia James was prosecuting under specific New York state law, had presented and requested a summary judgment for, 6 counts. And there were 2 more counts that needed extra work, so they had to go to trial, but just on those last couple, it's a bench trial. But Judge, Ilo, what's his name again? Oh my gosh. Elion, help me out. What was his name? Elon, E-I-O-L something. Oh my gosh, Angron. Oh my gosh, thanks, VC. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. I was like, what? He granted that summary judgment. 6 months later, they went to trial for the last 2 pieces. All right. So this is very important because at this stage, your case could be done right there. Next, we have intervener or amicus. Amicus means a friend of the court. So a group with specialized knowledge, and they're like, hey, we've got extra information. We want to file briefs here. And that has to be approved by the court. They have to accept that. So you file your request, then it gets approved, and then you file your brief. This is where we've seen some of Mike Johnson's most prolific work has been him and multiple other people like him filing as amicus, as friends. We had I think 200 people in Congress on the Trump v. Anderson case, right? So that was where he was going to be removed from the ballot in Colorado, if you remember that case. So Mike Johnson and a whole bunch of those people, those Mike Johnson people, got together and wrote this amicus brief saying no, he shouldn't be taken off. This is solely his decision. He should have power over everything. It's not a particularly enjoyable read. But then you've also got the intervener, right? So someone coming in. The last one here is a motion for a writ of mandamus. Now, or mandamus. You might hear this term being floated around quite a bit. And who was I talking to? Is it Dave the Angry Lawyer or Angry Attorney? Anyway, Dave, he's from New York. Wow, he's got a lot of great information in his brain. This is one that he kind of knocks around every once in a while. But in these cases, mandamus is saying you are asking the court to force some government agency person to do something. All right, so the mandamus could be forcing the Department of Agriculture to stop a certain memo, right? So that would be mandamus or mandamus. And that's a huge request and very rare, at least it has been rare in the past. I am doing better, Craig. Thank you very much. But, we try not to use it because the mandamus is going to really upset some people when you do that. This is like, we're going to ask the judge to tell you to do your job. It's like tattling. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you got to do it. All right, next piece up here is the motions being granted, denied, or deferred here to a panel. So hold on a second because I've got to make sure. The one thing that I don't see that I would add here is that we're going to move it for a hearing. We have a rehearing here, but we may have a hearing here on some of these motions before anything else. So like even when just filing it, depending on the size of your jurisdiction, there may be different roads to go down. But let's go back now to calendaring. So how do we set up everything on the calendar, on the docket for this? Right. So the first thing is we're going to be awaiting calendaring 90 days. It can take 90 days for any of this stuff. If it's not just dealt with right away, they have 90 days from the time that they file until the time that it's put on the docket. All right. So we've got 3 months just getting it onto the calendar. In the federal court system. Now, of course, it can be less, but it just can't be any more than that. 3 months, everyone. Yeah, it takes a long time. Next, then we have panels selected for the cases, motions. Then we've got the case set on the calendar 6 weeks prior to submission date. So here we go. We're getting that finally scheduled here. And then we have arguments. Again, in the appellate court, we're not taking witnesses. We're not taking in evidence. We're not doing that. They're deciding issues of law on an appeal. Some kind of legal issue, factual issues get dealt with in district court, right? They're the one in the trenches. So here it's all your brief, your record, your filings, all of that is what you have to tell the judge you're right and they should rule for you. All of this plus an oral argument. And usually oral arguments can make a difference, but really you're just, telling the justices what your other paperwork says, right? And giving them a chance to ask questions. So you might think, oh, oral argument, that's really lovely. You get up there with your white wig and your big, wait, that's Britain. You don't have to wear a wig in the U.S., but you get up there, you're like, whoa, this is oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court, whoop-de-doo, or the appellate court. And you start saying, and one thing and another thing, and, we the people, 2 minutes in, and they'll be like, let me ask a question. And you're like, wait, I haven't even made it through the first paragraph. And they'll ask you a question. And then you'll answer it, and then you'll try to get back in. Okay, and the second point. So that can be tough to do that. But it is actually, I think arguing in front of a higher court is actually a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed my time doing that. Because again, they're legal issues as opposed to trial issues. Sometimes if you do criminal law for a long time, you need a break from that, honestly. Here we go. Briefs are circulated here. Cases are argued here and submitted. And then we wait for the decision. And then here the decision is entered. Number 5. Now, if we don't like this decision, then we can petition for rehearing. And we've been seeing that a lot where we've come from a 3-panel judge here, 3-judge panel, to an en banc panel, which means everybody needs to get to the bar, needs to get up to the place where the judges go. I don't want to get into too much trouble here, but so we have a 3-judge panel. We don't like what they're saying, so now we're asking for en banc. We're asking for everyone to come in, sit down at the bench, and let's go through this again. Petition for rehearing or combination petition for rehearing and an en banc. So when you see en banc, it just means everybody that can. Now, if you'll notice the federal judge list, you'll see that a lot of the, I don't know, if you look like in Florida, you'll see maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 judges that are active up and running. But the very, very end of the list are going to be all of the judges that just are kind of retired, like they're just lingering. Like those guys don't get asked about it. It's only the ones that are like active and working. How long do the judges have to make their rulings? Well, they really, the whole goal, there's not a specific date set out in law telling the judges exactly what date stuff needs to be done by, but they do have calendar times when we're in session versus out of session. And so when we switch to another term, it's like you want to take care of all your old business before your new business starts coming in. So that's more of what the timing issue is, as opposed to, I've only got 2 days to do it. Although many judges will say that. They'll give you some idea, because every judge is a little different. And they might say, okay, well, I'll have an answer next week, or I'll tell you by Monday, which I think is kind of what we've got going on in a couple of the cases. Like, well, I'll have it to you by Monday or whatever. But as far as like a rule, like, you can say to the judge, hey, you missed your deadline on the ruling in my case. Like, that's not going to be a good experience for you. That judge is going to be like, I'm sorry, what? You tell me how to do my job, you can go. So you got to be careful about that. We've got it set out in our rules to keep everything moving. But the exact dates when it comes to judges, we're pretty lenient on that. Then after the rehearing here, we've got a response. That's 14 days. Then we've got the rehearing here. So we have a brief here, we have a response, and then we have a rehearing. And then down here is the mandate. And that just means, what do we have to do with this decision? So we've got to figure out what the costs are for the appellate process here. And then over here, we've got the case mandated and cost tax 7 days from denial of rehearing. That's the other thing too. If you're denied the rehearing, then you don't have this piece going. And then the last box here is the case ends, or a petition for writ of certiorari is filed with the Supreme Court of the United States. So when you get to the end of Candyland here, right? So you go. You don't like what's happened through your rehearing, through your briefing here, then you can file your cert request, all right, which is how you get up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So these are all of the steps just for appellate court, all right? So again, let me take you back here to what we're dealing with all of these appeals, right? So we have them filing the petition first, and then we have an answer here, a second, and then we have a reply here, and then we have discovery, which comes in here. We've got pretrial motions here, and then we've got trial, and then we've got post-trial motions, right? So that's the life of a regular case, is how it goes. So what's happening then, again, is that the petition's being filed, and then we have this temporary restraining order request or preliminary injunction request. And boom, as soon as this happens, this is the first step, these questions are being appealed. So that TRO, that preliminary injunction, that's being appealed. So it's going all the way through the preliminary matters, all the way through a formal briefing schedule, all the way to make sure whatever's filed needs to be filed, calendaring in order to get it on the schedule, arguing it out. Again, just the preliminary injunction and the TRO, just that. So, the temporary restraining order had to do oral arguments, and then had a rehearing, wanted en banc. And then down here, we're like, well, we lost. So now we're going to appeal the temporary restraining order up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they're doing it over and over and over and over again. Again. And this is just the first step. So, here's step 2, here's step 3, here's step 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Yeah. Right. I've seen it written as a petition, and that's how I've taught it before. So petitioner as opposed to an appellant. Temporary injunction or preliminary injunction. Well, those terms again can be kind of used interchangeably, but preliminary injunction is meaning always before the case gets going. There could be something that happens at the beginning of trial that could require an injunction be put into place. And so they're like, we're going to put this injunction in place for 2 weeks until, this part of the trial's over or something like that. I know Judge Angron did that a few times. So it's all about the timing of it, but the injunction just means something stops and it's temporary. Attorney Kendall, there's no trial at the Court of Appeals. That's correct, Attorney Kendall. We've been talking about that, right? So the great thing here, we'll just do this one more wrap around here, okay? The district court, the lowest court, that's where our fact finders are, our juries. This is where we have our trial. The next court up is an appellate court in the federal system, and this is going to just be paperwork. All right, this is going to be what's already happened. They're not deciding issues of fact. They're only deciding issues of law at this point. And then if you don't like that answer, you go to the Supreme Court, and then they finish it up. But you are correct. There is no trial at an appellate court level. And one more thing, too, that you just reminded me of is that we actually, when it comes to... Wait, I just lost it again. I was going to tell you something that was really important. Just a minute, let me think about it. I can't remember. But also remember, you can get 2 bites of the Court of Appeals, too. One with a 3-panel, one with a proton. Okay. What type of case you're referring to that has a petition and a reply? I'm using the terms for when you're filing something that is not criminal. All right, so we've got petitioners file the petition, the respondents file the response, and that's how we go through our civil litigation. All right, when you appeal, the one who appeals is the appellant, because they are appealing, and then the one that is replying to the appellant is the appellee. I know, sometimes, we can kind of get tangled up. Oh, thanks, Kim. We can get tangled up, and when we get tangled up, then it gets very frustrating. So that's why, I try to come in here and untangle stuff for you. But how important is this, everyone? Seriously, if we're going to have, let's take one more piece here. Let's say we've got the temporary restraining order. We'll use the birthright citizenship case. All right, so the TRO, is the puzzle coming? Oh, the puzzle's here. Oh, fingers crossed, everybody. Oh my gosh, I got it on the first try. So stressful. Okay. So the TRO and the preliminary injunction, all right, that was appealed. The birthright citizenship case, right? Is birthright citizenship okay to do this with an executive order? We don't know yet. The ruling in the land is no, but the Supreme Court's not answered it. They've only answered temporary restraining order. Okay, so this went up to SCOTUS, right? Up to SCOTUS and then back down. Now they're going into the discovery phase and the motions here as well. So what they could do, again, and I have no doubt, what you can do is they can go in and appeal the discovery, and they have been starting to do that. So we appealed this temporary restraining order, right, all the way up through the Supreme Court. Now the petitioner wants 15 interrogatories, and the government's like, well, a few of those don't seem fair. So what are they going to do? They're going to appeal them. Why? Because they're going to ask their local judge, the district court judge who's supposed to be in charge of discovery, and the way it goes is that judge makes the decisions. But with this administration, it's quite possible that they could take that and try to appeal it. So they may say, we don't want this covered in discovery. And the court says, well, you have to. So then they appeal it. And now it goes through this whole process. We want to ask one question about jelly beans. And they're like, you can't do it. And so now we go all the way here again through this whole process. Can you ask for jelly beans? Is it legal? And then all the way up to the Supreme Court again. So you see how every little tiny thing, if it's getting appealed turns into a nightmare. 3-judge, that's right. You can ask for the entire circuit. Yes. And you never know. I mean, you never know. The appellate court might say, no, we're not going to do en banc. Or unusual, I think we just had a case where the court itself asked for an en banc review. Come to think of it. That was just last week, actually. Yes, be careful. Have a calendar date. Woo! Yeah, it's a lot, but back-to-back puzzles, yeah, yikes. Talking about these very high-profile cases dealing with separation of powers. Well, right, Attorney Kendall, I'm talking about just specifically the lawsuits filed against the administration, because those are questions of federal law and constitutional law. So we're at about 530 cases. That's where I just get teachable material for free, right? All these cases, and I could teach you how to go through the process because there are so many of them, and it's all public record. Yay! Exactly, Attorney Kendall. Yes, exactly. This is unusual. And with this administration, two things that are very highly unusual. First of all, using an interlocutory appeal is like almost never approved. First of all right? And then second of all, our higher courts don't tend to typically disregard everything that the first court is saying. I'm noticing the Supreme Court not giving the deference to the district courts that are in the trenches as much as it has been done in the past. Usually those first judges in the trenches, they say, we're going to back you up because you're there, you see the evidence. That's not happening in these cases because the Supreme Court's like, kind of being poo-pooers about it. Clogging up the court system? Yes. Well, yeah, free material. You betcha. You need something to help write an essay question for, torts? Whatever. Go on in there. Yeah, for sure. Hello, sustaining a smile. Oh, yes. Lots of very, very smart people that I appreciate so very, very much. So anyway, everyone, that's taken us to the end here of my frustration for how it goes. But I really hope this is kind of set out for you. Again, the dates. Now, the district court has its dates. The Supreme Court has its dates too. This is for the federal appellate courts. Interpreting the Constitution in a new way, or are they just rewriting it? That's a good question. The majority on the court wants to get it as close to what it originally meant as possible, rather than what it could mean and how it could help, right? So this idea that it's a living document that's supposed to move and work within the cultures that we have, that's the minority, all right? The majority is saying, what was it like when the Redcoats courted their soldiers in their house, right? So we're having references right now with the Alien Enemies Act to the late 1700s right now. And Sotomayor, who is absolutely correct, she's like, what the H are we doing here? This is a 1798 law back when, Hamilton was still alive. Seriously, what are we doing? And the court's like, we want to have control over everything, including, old school acts that haven't been used since the Civil War. So that's how you know they're originalists, I guess, because of that. I feel like if I didn't have the right to vote, then that statute needs to be taken care of, right? I'm not going to respect a statute that came into play that they're trying to use now when I didn't have the right to vote. I'm not going to do that. Or when half of my family, So not good stuff. Yeah, she's great. We adore her. That isn't what they're doing because they're allowing so much federal executive power. They're certainly trying to, VC. And it's the language. It's the language that gets everyone tricked up, which is one of the reasons I know some people get really frustrated about the closet docket. They're like, can you just put it in a list? Which, by the way, justsecurity.org, I think, lawfare.com, both having really great programs that are tracking these cases. But for me, to see like 455 sticky notes, to know each one of those is a lawsuit, like that visual really shows what's happening. Because it's easy to be like, well, you know, we got this, we got that, and the other. And it's like, if you look at that, like, we got a lot of cases going on. We have a lot. a lot. Actually, let me take you down. I'll give you a quick tour before I sign off here. Just to give you some idea of what we're talking about here. Here. And then, whoop. So these are some of the final decisions here. So those summary judgments are here. The steps. Oh, I guess I did have it. Oh, here it is. The steps for a lawsuit. If anyone wants to screenshot that. Down here, these are all of the emergencies that have been declared from this administration here. Right. So there's been 7 emergencies that has allowed him to try to unlock powers that he would have during war. Then we over here, we got the Alien Enemies Act and a lot of the dismissed cases over here as well. Back here, we've got our First Amendment cases for deportations. And then, of course, over there's the Alien Enemies Act as well. And then in here, we have our SCOTUS cases, which is like, all right, whatever, dude. Real quick, again, anything in orange, these are our federal employees who've been fired, and they're claiming unlawfully. These right here are all union cases. All union cases, because there's an executive order that said collective bargaining did not need to be honored anymore. Because of that, he eliminated collective bargaining in an executive order. No. So we've got a ton of lawsuits here. And then these are the other federal employees. All the green ones are federal funds that are being withheld. So the top rows here, these are the states where their federal funds have been withheld. And then down here, we just have other entities like schools where, the Association of American Universities, right? And federal grant terminations for physics teachers, science foundations, all kinds of stuff. None of that money has actually been given out. It's being impounded. And this is kind of my area where I'm trying to pull these apart even more. We've got birthright citizenship cases here. We're really just waiting on SCOTUS for that. And the Barbara case took over. Nope, that's not right. Maybe it is right. Yes, it is. The Barbara case is now a class action, and that's the big one now. Over here, law firms still that have had executive orders against them. First Amendment, so like if you protested, they'll come and take your visa, so you can't be here anymore. Oh, yes, I do have OCD. That's one of my superpowers. But only for certain things. Like laundry, forget it. Here are the cases where they're trying to eliminate the media here and supplement it with their own media. National Guard lawsuits up here, and then sanctuary cities are on that other board. We have the AmeriCorps lawsuits and the USAID lawsuits, so the dismantling, destruction of those. And then at the very top, we have, this is a reminder. We don't want to become this, so that's a little reminder note. And then there are just some other things they've pulled money from. All right, immigration cases are pink over here, along with a lot of the trans rights cases. Oh my goodness, everybody. I always take a minute for the targeting of our trans communities. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's not good. It's not good, people. So these here, and then I've got one more. I had to start one more over here. So I do have another foam board, but it's hard for me. I work better to be able to actually see it. This doesn't have any light over here. But here we go. We've got the election lawsuits. Here we've got DEIA lawsuits, Department of Education. Here, the FOIA cases, so Freedom of Information Act cases where they're requesting information. The government's denying it. Here, Crew is doing actually an incredible job with that. Down here we have our tariffs lawsuits. We're waiting to hear on that. And then all of the Doge lawsuits are here and kind of sprinkled throughout a few other areas. So, and I can hear the roofers just got here, everyone. I'm getting a new roof today, so I gotta kind of close down here. But so there you go, everybody. There's a quick overview. I've got about 35 more cases I need to put on that have been filed in the last couple weeks to keep it up to date. So I know, right? Yes, new roof. I'm excited. Yeah, we had a tree fall through the roof and that wasn't good. But thank you all for coming by and hanging out. Hopefully this helps explain a little bit more of the timing on everything. I know, I'm really excited. I'm excited about it. I may be on tonight or I may not be. I'm so sorry. It's just hard to tell. But I will definitely keep trying to be on over the lunch hour. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate all of you. Have a great one.